Diddy, I know that Diddy episode. That was one of our most popular episodes. Or if we were talking about our upbringing or parenting, those are some of the ones that I enjoyed the most because I feel like we were living those in real time. Or if we were talking about just our love story, and that's where we started. And those are some of the episodes that I think I cherished the most. And you talk about legacy. I never thought about us recording our love story and having our love story recorded and what that has meant. And so no matter what lens we approached it with, those are our framework and our paradigm for approaching storytelling is something that I have been the most proud of because I think they can see themselves in it.
We've done more this year with this podcast than I thought we were going to do when we started. I'll just say
more.
that.
Say more.
Yeah, it's been a productive 9 months, in creating this content. I feel like what we're doing, I feel like it's feeding our marriage, and our prayer and hope is that it's feeding our audience, their life, their hearts, their souls, their spirits. And I hope that even though there's, what do you call it, the third wall or the fourth wall? Even though there's a fourth wall between us, that the audience can feel like, even through this platform, that they're not doing life alone. You know what I mean? We realize that life can be hard. It can be confusing. It can be very discouraging. And we hope that these conversations will pour into some of those voids.
Yeah. Welcome to With Love, the Chambers.
Where life, laughter, and lasting lessons meet.
We're the Chambers, a husband and wife navigating faith, family, and everything in between.
Here we share real stories, heartfelt conversations, and a whole lot of love. Because life isn't perfect, but God's grace sure is.
So pull up a seat, grab a cup of coffee, or go ahead and sip that tea, and join us for honest talks, laughs, and the wisdom we're learning along the way. This is With Love, the Chambers.
This episode of With Love, the Chambers was brought to you by the Vision Engineering Collective, where purpose meets strategy and vision comes to life. If you've been enjoying the stories, the laughs, and those deep life lessons, we invite you to support the show and help us keep the love flowing. Head over to www.coff.ee/withlovethechambers. Think of it like buying us a cup of coffee or two. As always, thank you for hanging with us. Now back to the show.
Hello, friends and family. Just want to say welcome to today's broadcast of With Love, the Chambers. I would just like to formally greet you on behalf of myself and my lovely wife, Jamila. Welcome you to today's special episode. We realize that we're at the end of the year and we are just amazed at how excited this year of creating content and having discussions with you, the audience, has been for us. So we're going to invite you into a very special conversation where we just share some reflections on this year of creating content, especially with you in mind. So do us a favor, hit the like button, hit the share button, drop a comment so we know what have been some of your favorite moments throughout the year. And before we get into today's conversation, Jamila, just want to welcome you and give you the opportunity to greet the people. What's on your mind?
Well, I can't believe it's the end of the year. That's the biggest thing.
Let's start there.
That's the biggest thing that's on my mind, and that we have for the entire year of 2025 been engaging with listeners and viewers on this platform, and it has been a joy to do so all year long. It has been really amazing to me to see folks' reaction, to interact with people, to be able to engage with not only the content, but with our story in a way that I never thought we would be able to. And it really has been a joy. And looking forward to reflecting on 2025 in this episode. But most importantly, excited about 2026. Every time there's a new year on the horizon, that brings new opportunity and just a new chance to continue pursuing and going after God's greatness. So I'm excited about today and about today's conversation.
Absolutely, absolutely. I can't believe how many episodes we've created
I
thus
know.
far.
Wild.
You know, I know it's well over 35. I don't know
Yes.
exactly what number at the time of this recording, but that is not the point. The point is, let me just say kudos and hats off to you to investing the time and creating this content for our audience and really being steadfast in doing so. You know, me, I think if we would have had it my way, I would have fell back a little bit, taken a month off or something, but you were really fully vested, into the content. So just want to say kudos to you. Thank you to you. And I guess to open us up, to crack the ice, what has been the most surprising part of the With Love, the Chambers podcast and platform for you? What kind of caught you by surprise as we undertook this venture?
Um, well, I have to say the reason that I was like so steadfast about we need to record every single week
Hmm.
was a couple things. Number one, I'm a podcast connoisseur myself.
Okay.
I
Okay.
have a long commute to work. I consume a lot of podcast content, and in the world of podcasters, that weekly podcast is something serious. And so, just like we used to anticipate the Cosby Show every Thursday night at 8, for folks that are in the podcasting world and really consume content in this format, that weekly cadence is a real thing. And this is one of the only mediums that people tend to consume in that way. We talk very often about how many folks are on demand
Hmm.
consumers now.
Yeah.
When we were young, we used to watch a show a certain time, a certain date. Now it's this is as every episode drop because I want to be able to binge it or consume it at the rate and the pace that I desire to do so. I think this medium in particular is just one of those mediums that's this harken back to the olden days of an episode is dropping, it's dropping on a certain day at a certain time,
Hmm.
and people anticipate it and kind
Yeah.
of have that rhythm and that cadence. And that's unlike most other content that folks consume nowadays. And what I have been pleasantly surprised by is just really the way we have developed our voice around engaging not only with our story, but with current affairs,
Mm.
with difficult topics,
Yeah.
around fun
Hmm.
conversations. I feel like in a very pleasant way, we've gotten the opportunity on this platform, unlike any other, to uniquely show the range of
Mm.
our personality, the range of our story. Yes, we can be those very same people that will just go to the deep end of the pool, this depth and breadth of, discussion around a particular topic. And sometimes we are the same people that just want to give you movie quotes and hip hop quotes and,
Yeah. Yeah.
just kind of veer off
Yeah.
and do those things. And I don't think in any other way and in any other medium that we've shared before that we've had the opportunity to show such a range
Hmm.
of ourselves and such a level of vulnerability, quite frankly, than we have had the privilege of being able to do so on this podcast and in this platform in particular. So for you, as you look back over this last year and over this last year of us really being in this podcasting space, how has this been for you? What's been the expectation versus the reality, or has there been anything that surprised you one way or the other about being in this space?
Yeah, I think, when we started, right? It was like, hey, let's just turn the mic
Yes,
on, let's get in the game, let's
yes.
let's figure it out, right? But I think somewhere along the way I realized the n- the need, and I don't want to sound, arrogant when I say it, but I really along the way what was revealed to me is that there is a need for um, sober voices,
Mhm.
sober thinking, and then a husband and wife. You know what I mean? Because of how polarized culture is now. There's so many combative postures I feel like that are out there. And I feel like there is a need for sobriety, mental, emotional, spiritual, Christian sobriety, in the airways. And I don't think I thought that when we were starting out.
Mm.
I thought, I was like, oh, you got to be unique. You got to be, so, theologically deep and sound and profound. And then it's like, no, there are a lot of, thought leaders and content creators that are trying to, have this message that is cutting edge or that is true to their, persuasions, but, which is fine, but just us presenting, I feel like husband and wife having conversations, there's a need for that, you know what I mean? Because I feel like so much of culture has lost its way, that I feel like some of what God is calling us to do is to help people refine middle ground, to
Mhm.
refine a
Yes.
safe passage, to refine sobriety, in their living. You know what I mean? So I think that kind of surprised me. Because you undertake these, what do I have to say? What do I have to
Sure.
represent? And it's not
Sure.
really needed. But then along the way, it's like, hey, you know, y'all being regular folk is now it's more atypical than you would think. Let's
Mhm.
put it like that.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And that, has been a surprise. But at the same time, I think it's refreshing, and for whatever reason, people are consuming content like this now,
Mhm.
like it or love it.
Yep.
It's almost like, it's, and, when I think about, the need for what some would call practical theology.
Mhm.
This is probably heavy on the practical, light on the theology, but that is a discipline,
Mhm.
right, in the Christian community, and rightfully so. How
Mhm.
can I live my faith at work? How can I live my faith at home? How can
Mhm.
I live my faith in parenting? And, sometimes we think it needs to be, a 45-minute sermon, and
Sure.
sometimes it does, but sometimes it needs to be a 45-minute conversation,
Mhm.
you know. And that has been refreshing to see that there's a need there. And then there's an audience there to
Mhm.
consume that content, not only here in the United States, but we're seeing in other countries,
Sure.
as well. And then I even think about from a global perspective, and I realized this. And even when I was in Kenya, some of the people that we were engaging with in Kenya were like, you guys are not how we thought you would be.
Mhm.
We've seen Americans through, media, through some visitors, but they were like, you guys aren't like that. So even on the
Mhm.
global platform, I feel like what we're doing is also representing, our nation and Africans in this part of the diaspora, for
Mhm.
others to say, wow,
Mhm.
this they're thinking and talking not as though I would think. And there's so much diversity within our
Sure.
ethnicity as
Sure.
being Africans in America, or Black Americans, or African Americans, however you want to kind of categorize yourself, that we are presenting our culture, our faith, our family, our legacy, the batons that we have in that we've been handed, by our
Mhm.
forefathers and foremothers. So that has been unique. It's surprising, I guess. So what I think the short, I know that was a long answer, but I think the bottom line is I'm waking up to what this represents.
Mhm.
And another thing another revelation, we share privately is, wow, our grandkids and grandkids will be able to pull this up after we're
Wow.
gone
Yeah.
to, well, what did granddad and grandmom
Sure. Have to
think?
say.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I mean, so that's something, again, we started, we were in a hotel room
Yep.
with a little wireless mic thing. And now it's like, wow, this is legacy.
Mm-hmm.
This is recording a story,
Mm-hmm.
is recording wisdom for generations not yet born.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And I guess when you think about, and I know it's hard, we're at 35 plus
Mm-hmm.
episodes. What episode, if you could only pick one
Oh
episode
my
to
goodness.
share with an audience, what do you think, what episode would that be? What do you think was the most important episode? If you can, even if it's three or a genre of episode, because some folks like, dang, y'all
Yeah.
done talked about everything. I'm getting that
I
from some, y'all
know.
done
I
talked about
know.
everything.
That is so difficult to do. Um and maybe I will answer that question with talking about the how that has been so important to me, and not so much the what, what one or which one, but more the how we have approached each one of these conversations. Because you mentioned, hey, early on when we started this, and I think when we talk to people about purpose and about starting businesses and about, going forth and doing what God told them to do, oftentimes we'll get an in picture, but we don't, we despise those humble beginnings, right?
Hmm.
And so literally, and now we have amassed a team over the course of this year that have been part of this production
Yeah,
conversation. But when
yeah.
we started, it had terrible audio, and we were on two of those little, and you see people on TikTok with them, those little,
Hmm.
about this big, about 4 inches tall. I'm doing this
Yeah,
big as if you're not
yeah,
listening.
yeah,
Some folks are
yeah,
watching, some folks are listening, but that the 4 inch
yeah.
microphone that you kind of hold up, and
Mhm,
and the sound is over amplified on one person and under
mhm,
amplified on another. And we just started there. And so I think what I have loved most about this from a process standpoint is that we always just took the next best step.
mm.
And so that's what I would encourage anyone that is deciding to pursue something
Yeah,
and deciding whether or not they have a voice, and I'm not sure
yeah,
what I should say, or I'm not sure if I should start the business, or I'm not
mhm,
sure when I should do it. It has just been a progression of taking the next best step. And so sometimes that end game becomes overwhelming, and you become paralyzed and frozen and just don't
yeah,
do anything at all. And we just said, we just going to turn on these hot mics, and the sound's gonna be terrible. Go back and listen to episode 1. It wasn't beautiful.
mhm,
And we were like, not sure what we need to say, the fires, and we upset about that. And should we even be talking? It felt even strange
mhm.
to be in Los Angeles at the top of this year, having so much going on with so much loss in the city. It felt
Yeah,
strange to even, should we be talking at
yeah,
all? And did that
yeah,
feel disrespectful? But we just kept taking the next best step. So to answer your question about like which episode, what I love is that we allowed our life to preach in every episode. So you talked about that practical theology
mm.
and just how that shows up. And we were able in every single episode just to bring our full faith, but to also not be so, heavenly minded that we were no earthly good. Like, this is what it looks like in our walking around
Yeah, yeah,
lives.
yeah.
And that's what I have loved about
Mhm,
what we have brought to every conversation,
yeah,
that hopefully the listeners and the viewers could see themselves and take a tool, a nugget, a
mhm,
something,
yeah,
for them to apply and to feel tangible, and that it was something that they can reach out and hold on to. We have listened to many sermons and read so many books and been inspired by so many leaders, but sometimes those aspirations just seemed out of reach. Like, you had to be superhuman to have that thought process or that
Mm.
mindset,
Mm-hmm.
or it sometimes felt like something unattainable,
Mm.
to be able to do that. And that's what you and I have always shared about our approach, whether it was your approach in your teaching ministry or our approach in even having these conversations and having these discussions, is that if someone was going to invest 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour, connecting with us in whatever platform or medium, would they be able to walk away feeling like I've got something I could touch, something I can do, something that's within my reach, within my grasp, something that I don't have to be superhuman. I don't even need superhuman faith. I can take my mustard seed of faith
Mm-hmm.
and just apply it to this situation. And those are the things that I'm most proud of with our conversations and our discussions. That whether we were talking about, whether we were talking about Diddy, I know that Diddy episode, that was one of our most popular episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Or if we were talking about our upbringing or
Mm-hmm.
parenting, those are some of the ones that I enjoyed the most,
Got it.
because I feel like we were living those in real time. Or if we were talking about just our love story,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where we started. And those are some of the episodes that I think I cherish the most. And you talk about legacy. I never thought about us recording our love story and having our
That's
love story
true.
recorded and what that has meant. And so, uh, no matter what lens we approached it with, those are our framework and our paradigm for approaching storytelling is something that I have been, the most proud of, because I think they can see themselves in it. And like I said, for us to not take ourselves so seriously all the time. I think when we're in our corporate spaces or even in our ministry spaces, there's a certain decorum and there's a certain culture and there's a certain, posture that requires, us to be versions of ourselves that haven't always been as full range
Yeah, that's
as
true.
this
That's
has
true.
been.
That's
And
true.
so I have enjoyed that we got to show, no, no, you can be saved for real and still be a hip hop head and still, quote old 90s movies
Yeah,
and the
yeah,
Love Jones episode, for
yeah, yeah,
example, and
yeah,
and still be able to do all of these things and love Jesus and show up as your
yeah,
full self. And so I
for
have
sure.
really enjoyed that and enjoyed that posture of it.
Mm-hmm.
And for you, so Rufus, you credit me with the pace and the every week and whatever. And
Mm-hmm.
I really credit you with putting on your vision engineering hat and getting your arms wrapped around structure
Mm-hmm.
and presentation and really the nuts and bolts. I get to show up often and be the talent and kind of uh, engage with the conversation
Yeah.
and pull out the questions and all that. Like I get to do the, hey, now we're live and it's rolling, so
Mm-hmm.
go. But you have taken and done what you do best with, okay, once the cameras turn off and this thing has got to now
Yeah.
live and be edited and marketed, and it's got to live and breathe and be out there. You have really taken the lead and just done a wonderful job and a masterful job, as you do with developing the structure and the legs around the vision. So talk about how you vision engineered this thing. Uh, so once the talent is one thing and this conversation is one thing, but we're gonna say cut, and then it's got to be some action and some things that happen beyond this. So talk about the vision engineering component of this With Love
Yeah,
podcast.
no, and thank you for the kudos, but it's been enjoyable to try and understand all the behind the scenes. You know what I mean? And of course, when you're vision engineering, you have to, have some money, you know. You got to have a plan, you got to have a team. So I think for us over this entire year, we built a team, but then we added to the team. You
Yes.
know what I mean? So, of course, social media manager, she's amazing, right? She's an integral part of the team. Our post-production editor, amazing person that's part of the team. Our content capture team, gentleman is here, amazing skill. Even having a facility for content capture,
Yes.
amazing facility and team. Graphic design, we have a primary graphic designer, but then we also have, a graphic design support mechanism that's, through a third party, shall we say, kind of a for hire that can do things quick, down and dirty. And then, midway during the year, we did hire a consultant to do a full scale evaluation on our platform and our podcast. And they published a report, that gave us some recommendations. So that to me has been pivotal. And then even, lately we've engaged, and that reminds me, I need to book some time with somebody, but, engaging directly with the Google team, because I think when they saw, some action, so
Hmm.
when they start seeing some people on the radar, they'll reach out and make themselves available. Great, boom. So we've engaged them. So now they're part of the team and they're
Hmm.
monitoring our growth. So, I think it's stuff I enjoy to do, you know what I
Hmm.
mean? And that's one thing about, working in ministry or even working in business, you know, I a lot of times as a vision engineer or project manager, I have to submit myself underneath the authority of a team, of
Hmm.
a person, of a hierarchy. And I know how to do that.
Hmm.
But when you give me the freedom where I
Hmm.
could be the primary decision maker, we could smoke tires
Yeah.
all day long. You know what
Yes.
I mean? So that's, I think, the other thing about has been joy about that. Yeah, I mean, you and I talk and, we consult with the team, but at the end of the day, you give me the ball,
Yep.
I can get the ball down the field. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
it's just been fun to do that. And even along the way, I was like, wow, we can offer this service to others,
Hmm.
who may not know what to do or how to do it or how to build a team, etc. So that's been a joy. And, I think the other thing, from a ministry lens, a ministry perspective, you know, part of I think what we offer to others is having a people don't even use Rolodexes anymore.
I know what a
But
Rolodex
yeah,
is.
having a network
Yes.
of subject matter experts
Hmm.
that can help people get results in
Hmm.
their lives. And we realize in 2025, it's not about solely being at the best church.
Yes.
That is an integral part. We need, I believe in the local church. My dissertation was obviously, a lot
Sure.
about the local church centric, but we realize that if you're really trying to get somewhere, you need to have a network of individuals and what I call in my project subject matter experts that can help people get to where they desire in different disciplines.
Hmm.
So I think even building this platform now with all this team, now we can in turn help others do that.
Hmm.
And I feel like it's critical. And I think even when we're talking about discipleship in 2026, the local church plays a role, but additional content also plays a role.
Hmm.
Like one of my friends, they reached out, actually a couple of friends,
Hmm.
in the last 2 weeks on two separate occasions, they were voicing a need for a faith-based conversation on sexuality.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I went in the Rolodex. Here go two resources.
Hmm.
And they're like, wow, I'm gonna check these out. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Because again, it's to me in this day and age, it's not about one entity or one person having all of it themselves.
Sure.
Sometimes we got to be able to reach on the shelf and direct a
Yes.
person to a resource so that they can get the help they need in real time.
Mhm.
So I even think about this platform and this podcast as being a referral service,
Mhm.
as being, maybe we'll start the conversation here, but we can redirect people.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And that's a call out to the audience even now. If there's some things related to, your Christian faith or to mental health, emotional health, even physical health,
Mhm.
financial fitness, education, career, feel free to reach out to us and we
Mhm.
can share some resources or
Sure.
tools that may be of benefit to you.
Mhm.
We don't want this just to be a monologue. We want
Right.
to obviously get our engagement up because we feel like, that'll help, people maximize, what we're doing. And I mean, to be honest, Jamila, you and I, we haven't done this for financial gain.
Mm-mm.
Our hope, I think, was that we would eventually break even.
Yes.
And we praise God for our first sponsor,
Yes.
that was a first seed of that. And
Mhm.
we're hoping in 2026, no, we will be able to bring in revenue from the platform to cover the expense
Mhm.
of, what we're doing. But, just to, kind of pivot a little bit, when you think about 2026,
Mhm.
and you think about critical conversations that are needed based on where our nation is, based on where the church in the United States is, what do you feel like are some critical conversations that are needed, that people need to have and hear?
Oh, wow. So, one of them I'll start with was the conversation you were having around our team and the team that we have been able to build. I don't think we can have enough conversations in 2026 and beyond around the value of creating teams, developing those relationships and managing those relationships. And a lot of it is not just realizing that you have to have people around you to get where you're going, but having the right people. And
Mm,
it's not just people that have the right skill set. So there's many people, and even as we talk to people and engage with people about our platform in particular, it's not just people that have excellent skill sets, but it's people that believe in us.
yeah.
So it's not just enough to say you can do the job and can you do the job, yes or no, but do you believe
Mm,
in our mission? Do
that's
you
good.
believe
That's good.
in what we are sharing? Are we just another widget to you,
Yeah. Yeah.
another person that you're dealing with, or do you understand that you are handling
Yes.
God's people and
Yes.
God's stuff? Like, do
That's
you
good.
get that
No, that's
fundamentally?
good.
And so I think as we talk about conversations around teams and relationships, whether it's in our corporate environments, because you and I also work in corporate environments and secular environments, or whether it be in a ministry capacity, who are you doing this thing with? And are you able to work with people and align with people that understand
Hmm.
and get that mission, because there's a what we need to do, but again how we go about doing it and with whom we do it is so critically important. um, the other thing that I don't think we can have enough conversations around is around mental health.
Mm.
And there are some things that are overused,
Mhm.
I think, because now there's so much language around
Yes.
mental health and there's been so much exposure to it. But I think there's some things generationally and there's some things culturally that we just didn't get growing up, right?
True.
So,
True.
Gen X in particular and Black Gen X in particular, I think there's some conversations that we are just having for the very first
That's
time,
true.
because we just thought that was normal. We talk about being latchkey kids, and we talk about just
Mhm.
some of the things that are common parts of our childhood. And now looking back, we're like, yeah, we probably shouldn't have been 5 and 6 at home alone, you
With a
know,
key around our
with a
necks on
key
a
around our necks
shoestring.
on a shoestring. Like that probably shouldn't have happened. But we
Hey.
we have that as a
Yeah,
commonality,
yeah.
and how is that shaped, informed, and informed how we approach
Mhm.
life.
Yes.
There is you and I being Black Gen Xers might call it a naivete or an optimism that other generations have. And I've come to even question myself to say, do I have a cynicism
Hmm.
uh, that I shouldn't have? A cynicism that was
Mm.
birthed,
Mhm.
out of, that generation and that life circumstance and that sort of thing. Because these subsequent generations have this, they don't know what they can't do
Mm.
um posture about them,
Yes.
because I think we were always told we should sit down, we should be quiet. We were always told
Yeah,
very clearly what we shouldn't do.
that's true.
And
That's
has
true.
that served us or not? So I think that there's a conversation
That's
around
good. A generational
uh,
conversation. That's good.
generationally this mental health conversation. And
Mhm.
then I think there's a conversation when you talk about our nation, but there's this conversation around a civic responsibility
Mhm.
that I think we need to continue to have. And I think we need to continue to have conversations around um, this demand we need to place on who America says she is.
Mm.
So, America, who say you,
Yeah.
about who
Yeah.
you are, nation? And if you say you are this nation, right? The home of the free, the land of the brave. Give me your tired, your poor, the yearning masses. Now, I'm not going to continue to quote any more about what it says on the Statue of Liberty,
Mhm.
but there are all these things that the nation professes to be, and we have seen in recent years, in particular, this disconnect with
Yes.
that. And so I think there's this conversation we need to continue to have and continue to place a demand on who America says she is, so that we can hold her to account
Yeah.
for that. So I think there is still a conversation around that, and I think we should continue to be 100% ourselves and be vulnerable, because there's going
Mhm.
to also be the current events of the day. There's going to be
Yeah. That's true.
things that will come up in real time,
Mhm.
for us, and I think we should continue to share and continue to be in that place and in that space. And for you, as you look into 2026, are there some things that you think we didn't share in 2025 that you would have hoped we did? Or are there some conversations that you in particular want to have
Yeah.
next year?
No, I next year I definitely want, we've talked offline about one of the first guests, that I want to interview is a gentleman that his subject matter expertise is the collision between faith and politics.
Hmm.
I feel like that's a very important conversation that needs to be had within our nation because I feel like that conversation has been misrepresented so much.
Hmm.
And I feel like our audience needs to have a very balanced presentation of that, because I feel like part of the cap or part of the deception is to be Christian is to be one political party or the other,
Hmm.
and you and I know that you can find a Christian ethic on both sides of the aisle depending on what issue you're talking
Hmm.
about.
Hmm.
So that's one conversation, especially in the environment that we're in, right?
Hmm.
Because this current administration is so charged.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So I feel like part of 2026, I don't think it's going to get less charged next
Sure.
year. So I feel like there'll
Sure.
need to be, conversations on that. So that's definitely one. And of course, I still feel like there's more conversations to be had on relationships,
Mm-hmm.
marriage
Mm-hmm.
and, loving, committed, relationships, because I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I think that's gonna be a generational conversation. I don't think that's a trending topic for the
No.
month or for the year.
No.
I feel like this is gonna be something that um, we have to continue to talk through. You know what I mean? I was listening to a clip, the other day, and it was a man talking about um he was basically talking about the psychological and emotional development, of men versus women and how that impacts the age in which they feel like they're ready to be married.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wow, that is just an
That is
interesting
interesting.
perspective.
Yeah.
And he was on point. So I feel like there's just more conversations to be had. And I feel like that because I'm unwilling to wave the white flag and just say,
Hmm.
less people are going to be married, less people are going, to have children, less people, are going to subscribe to what some would say is the traditional family. I still
Mm-hmm.
believe in the quote unquote traditional family, the
Mm-hmm.
husband, the wife, two and a
Mm-hmm.
half kids, and a white picket fence, right? I
Mm-hmm.
still believe in that, right? So I still feel like there's conversations to be had, you know what I mean? And I would love to get some interviews with different people that may think a little different from us,
Mm-hmm.
to really try and engage and understand and do some excavation and, help our audience sift through the noise. I feel like
Yes.
a lot of what we're trying to do is help people sift through the noise of everything. And there are some faith conversations that need to be had as well,
Mm-hmm.
regarding Christianity, regarding the institutional church that some of our listeners and viewers are in that, there's some hot buttons, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, I think, we'll have to be prayerful about, when to tackle one of those hot buttons. No holds
Mm-hmm.
barred and just, going to the ring,
Mm-hmm.
So those are some things, that I think about. But it's hey, I don't know about you, but I think we've done more this year with this podcast than I thought we were gonna do when we started. I'll just
Say
say
more.
that.
Say
Yeah,
more.
yeah,
Say more.
yeah. Yeah, no, I didn't I think number one, the volume of podcasts,
Mm.
you know what I mean? The number of podcasts, I didn't, I thought, oh, we'll do a season, 10, 20 episodes and see
Mm-hmm.
if it takes. So I think the number, has exceeded. And, I feel like we haven't, we've made progress in cracking the code
Mm-hmm.
of all of these digital IT things, you know what I
Sure.
mean? And the consultant really that we hired opened that up as, oh my God, this is a whole science behind
Yes.
this. It's not just
Yes.
content.
Right.
It's not just an aesthetic. There is a legitimate science or computer science,
Sure.
that is
Sure.
behind,
Monetizing
these
podcasts and yeah, and
platforms.
and
So
utilizing platforms.
yeah,
Yeah.
so no, so I feel proud, of what we've done, thus far this year. And I think another thing, and maybe you can talk about this. I feel like there could be something here in that when you think about the why we do this, I feel like the why we do this exceeds the cost of doing this.
Yes.
Talk to the audience about why people need to be clear on their why as they undertake new ventures.
Oh my goodness. This is always such a loaded question. There's always that excitement at the start.
Hmm.
So, whether you are starting a new degree
Yeah.
program or starting a new business or starting a new podcast, that excitement alone will get you through those first couple of months because it's just something about starting something new that's exciting. And you and I see this all the time. People, we talk to them, oh, I'm starting a new business, or I'm
Hmm.
starting class, or I'm starting this because there's just a certain inherent excitement around that. And for those that I remember graduating from high school or graduating from college or finishing at trade school or something like that, there's that excitement when you can see that finish line and you can see graduation or you can get real closer to it. But that time in the middle,
Yeah.
it's just nothing
It's
there
real.
but
It's real.
but uh repetition
Mm-hmm.
and discipline.
That's right.
And that's the part that gets hard. You talked about Google just now calling us and reaching out to us. That's because we were 30 something episodes in
Yeah.
and hiring consultants and putting together a team and figuring out, going back and
Mm-hmm.
watching the proverbial tape. We're in football season, watching the proverbial tape week after
Yeah.
week and going back
Yeah.
looking at every play and analyzing it and making improvements the next week. There was nothing sexy about that. It wasn't videotaped. There was no applause for it.
Mm-mm.
Um, no one might have even noticed from week to week the little
Yeah.
change or the little modification or the
Yeah.
little thing that we noticed or the little improvement
Mm-hmm.
that we noticed or the decisions that we made one week from the next. No one celebrates you for that. So understanding why you were doing something
Mm-hmm.
is what gets you through the moments which are more moments than not, where no one's celebrating, no one's cheerleading, no one's coming and
Yeah.
saying, "Isn't that wonderful? You've started your friends and family. They'll listen to those first couple of episodes, but they ain't
They
listening to
tapped
episode.
out.
They
Yeah.
tapped out. We had to go
What
back
they
up.
doing? Oh, that's
Oh,
they
that's
doing. That's
beautiful.
it. Yeah. No,
That's
they
beautiful.
they
Yeah,
tapped
yeah,
out.
but
They
they
tapped
tapped
out.
out. So you've got to move beyond,
That's right.
that
That's right.
initial folks that are just gonna rock
Yeah.
with you because they love you and they're your
Yeah.
family.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you got to go.
They come to the grand opening.
Yeah, they'll come to the grand
They
opening.
coming
Yeah,
back for Taco Tuesday every
they ain't coming to
Tuesday.
Taco Tuesday every Tuesday, every single Tuesday,
Mm-mm.
every single With Love Wednesday, right? So
Mm-mm.
you have
Mm-mm.
to be able to move beyond that. And a lot of our why, number one, started off 100% selfish. Like we get the opportunity to sit down with us, with one another every single week and have an uninterrupted conversation.
That's true.
We were at a point in
Absolutely.
our marriage where we said, for what we want to do as a
Yeah.
couple moving forward, that we have to find something that we did together.
Together.
We have built things separately for
Yes.
a number of years.
Absolutely.
And we had you were creating content and doing some things. I
Mm-hmm.
was creating content and doing some things. And you started this business and I started that business. And we, for many years, have done things separately.
Yeah.
But this is the first time we were very intentional with saying, hey, we've got these kids. We
Mm-hmm.
have mentioned several times that they are turning into young adults. We will be empty nesters soon. We have to find our
That's
thing.
right.
And if we are going to build something
Mm-hmm.
and spend time and as much time as this has been building something, we need to, hey, if nobody listens, me and you got to sit down for an hour with no cell phones, no TV on,
Yeah.
and have conversations that are important to us.
Absolutely.
And whether we get one person to listen, 1,000 people to listen, tens of thousands of people to listen, hundreds of thousands of people to listen, it doesn't matter. You and I are having this
That's
conversation for the
right.
audience of one. And so that was our fundamental with
Yes.
wanting to
Yes.
serve that
Yes.
purpose.
Yes.
The other thing that was very important to us is that if we are going to have these conversations and if somebody is going to take the time to listen, are they going to be able to have their lives changed in some way?
Mm-hmm.
Will they be able to take something from spending and investing time with listening to this content and be enriched,
Yeah.
encouraged, inspired, learn something? We've had so many people say that they've continued conversations with their loved ones
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
based on
Yeah.
these kind of conversation starters here. And so that was very, very important to us. And then the third thing, and you mentioned kind of monetizing it, we also wanted to build to scale. And so, as we were deciding, and there are so many people that we see this as they're pursuing their dreams, that they want to bet the farm right up top
Mm-hmm.
without letting the market teach them
Mm,
things,
Jesus.
because we have had certain ideas for this platform, certain ways that we thought it could go. There's the gentleman that's filming us right now that thought
Mhm.
his business, right, and production was going to go a certain
Mhm.
way. Then the pandemic hits, and it's like, oh, the market is telling me I need to
Yeah,
develop a different skill set to
that's
be able
right.
to support. We've done the same thing with the podcast. We thought we were going to talk about just this, but we've had people slide in the comments and say, hey, can y'all talk about
Yeah.
transitions? Hey, can y'all talk about this? Or we're really concerned about what's going on politically. What do y'all say about that?
Mhm.
And so we have had to allow the market
Yeah.
to
Yeah, for
also
sure.
inform the way we approach the content and the way we approach having the
Mhm.
conversations. And if we had put all of our eggs, in one basket up top, because we said, this is really what I would say now, one dimension. This is one dimension of what I want
Mhm.
y'all to talk about, not knowing that we would talk about all of these
Yeah.
different things over the course of this year, and all the wonderful things that we have to talk about in the new year, and the way we have decided in the new year to take it off the platform and do some things live and have some interactions and some points of engagement with the
Yeah.
audience in person. And we would have never thought about those things had you all, the listeners and viewers, really
Mhm.
informed us. And so that's one thing I would say as a point of encouragement, is that you will have an idea, it will be a spark. As you put one foot in front of the other, make the next best decision,
That's right.
have that sticks before logs, type
Mhm.
of mentality about the approach to your dream. We have been able to stay true foundationally, but we are doing things we never thought we would be doing, because you all have, as the vision engineer himself would say, placed a demand
Mhm.
on us in a particular way
Yeah.
that has caused us to pivot and do things within the platform that we didn't think that we would do. And I'm excited to see, even in 2026, how that
Yeah.
stretches and
Yeah,
goes
let's go.
beyond even further.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we have our listeners and our viewers to thank, for everyone that is like literally sent us a question, a
Mhm.
comment. It's like it's been like a gumbo. Like, you all have
That's right.
added an ingredient, into this conversation. Your encouragement. Anytime we would, for weeks on end, get folks saying, we really appreciated when y'all did that. We didn't realize we were doing it, right?
Mm.
But we're like, oh, people have given us feedback that they really appreciated that we engaged on this particular topic or in this particular way. That informs us, that helps
Yeah.
us, refine the way we have done it over the course of the year. You have consumed this content in audio only. You have consumed this
Yeah.
content in a studio downtown.
Absolutely.
Now we are filming this content in our home. Part of that discussion we had with that consultant was, does it matter where we do it, or does it matter so much what we do?
Yeah.
Does it matter, if it's
Yeah.
audio? Does it
Yeah.
matter if it's video?
All those questions.
Does it matter if it's this length of time or that length of
Mhm.
time? And becoming a student, I think, too, of the things that you're
Absolutely.
naturally gifted in. Um, we talk so much, and you see so much about professional athletes having these natural skills and natural abilities, but they still have all of these coaches. They got a strength and conditioning coach, they got
All
a
of it.
head coach, they got a nutritionist, they got all these people around them to help pull out
Mhm.
that natural gift and make it better. And I think I want to pause and really say we have done a ton of that in this
Yes.
platform and this
Yes.
content, that from that very first episode when
In
we were
March, yeah.
pressing play and
Mhm.
having those conversations, we had the talent, but we had to bring,
Yeah.
the coaches, and our audience has been a part of our coaching team too, around us, to
Absolutely.
refine it over
Yeah.
the episodes and over the period of time. And I think that has made such a huge difference
Mhm.
in not only this platform, but I hope it will be of an encouragement to the listener to say, no matter where you're starting, you start off with this idea, but you have to keep going.
That's right.
You have to have the discipline and the consistency in the quiet moments when no one is celebrating. And then one day Google calls,
That's
right?
right. Yeah,
What do we say? It's slow till it's fast.
that's
Like
right.
like one
That's
day,
right.
one day it
Preach.
becomes something larger and with more momentum than you thought, but you don't get to be sporadic, and you don't get to do it 5 or 6 times and that be okay, or 6 or 7 times, depending on
Oh Lord. Yeah.
if you have the gen alphas with you in the
Yeah,
gym.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
You don't get
yeah,
to do it. You don't get
yeah.
to do it infrequently and get the benefit of that. Is what I'm saying. You don't get to just do it 1 or 2 times. You have to put in those reps, and then you get that
Absolutely.
information. Then you
Absolutely.
get that information. And as we prepare to land the plane
Mm-hmm.
on this reflection of our podcast and a
Yeah.
reflection of this year, our first year as podcasters, like
Well, not
we've
even a
had
full calendar year,
not
but
even a
yeah,
full calendar
about
year.
9 months, but
Yes,
yeah.
yes, yes. Starting off earlier in this year, but completing 2025, our first calendar year as podcasters. What's your final reflection before we give them some instructions? I want to remind you that we need to give our audience
I'll let
some
you give the
instructions on
instructions.
the next couple of weeks.
Yeah,
Yes, yes.
I'll give you the instruction. Yeah, I'll let you do
Because you did the
that.
face like, what?
Yeah,
What instructions? Because
yeah.
I done already forgot the instructions. That's okay. I remember the instructions. So before we get into the instructions about how we're going to close out this year, what is your final thoughts about reflections of our first calendar year as podcasters?
Wow, I feel like, yeah, I've said a lot. Yeah, well, I mean, again, I think it's been a productive 9 months, in creating this content. I feel like what we're doing, I feel like it's feeding our marriage, and our prayer and hope is that it's feeding our audience, their life,
Mm-hmm.
their hearts, their souls, their spirits. And I hope that even though there's, what do you call it, the third wall or the fourth wall? Even
The
though
fourth wall.
there's a fourth
Yes.
wall
Yes.
between us, that the audience can feel like, even through this platform, that they're not doing life alone. You know what I mean? We realize that life can be hard, it can be confusing, it can be very discouraging. And we
Mm.
hope that these conversations will pour into some of those voids,
Yes.
pour into some of those vulnerabilities, and be a source of life, for you, for you and for those that you love and cherish the most. Because again, the why behind why we're doing this, it's bigger than us. It's bigger
Mm-hmm.
than our marriage, right? We want this to be a witness. We want this to be a light on a hill. We want this to be the salt of the earth.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So y'all, we're going to continue to do what he's called us to do in
Yes.
this arena, for as long as he calls us to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we need your feedback, we need your input, we need your questions, we need your curiosity,
Yes.
because I feel like this is only the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there will be other media verticals that are birthed out of this, and we're being prayer about that. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? That there will be other subject matter expertise verticals that will come out of this. So, but yeah, those are my closing thoughts. I'll kick it over to you to
Yes.
officially land the plane.
Yes, I love this. And here's the instructions that Rufus was struggling to remember a few
Mm-hmm.
minutes ago.
Yeah.
And I can't believe that you forgot the break.
Mm,
That we'd be taking these next 2 weeks off
mm.
of live content. He's been waiting all year to take
Hey,
a break
yeah,
off of some live content. And then
that's
it's finally
right.
here. He's like, what? What did you have to say?
Mm-hmm.
But in our 2 weeks off, as we reset with family and kick off 2026, we will have best of episodes. So if you, because we are so 90s, we are so 80s, we are so
Yeah, I
we are
know
so
the
90s
best
babies.
of,
Remember,
like the
remember.
Cosby Show.
I know.
Y'all about to
Remember those
have
episodes that you used to
Yeah.
look back on and they
Yeah.
used to be like, oh, I forgot that. I forgot that clip. That was such a moment.
Yeah.
You know, Rudy coming down the stairs, baby.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
yes. So this is going to be our version of the best of greatest hits back in the Napster days when you used to burn your own CD. You pick your version of what this is.
Yeah.
Ooh, take it old school. Back when you used to listen to the radio, your favorite song, come on. You got to run the cassette tape. Don't look confused because you had to do that
Yeah,
too.
yeah, I remember that.
Don't look confused. But however
Yeah.
this version is for you, we're going to take the next 2 weeks and compile some of our greatest hits, best of episodes for you to enjoy over the next couple of weeks. And so for our new listeners and viewers, it's going to be a great look back and a great, wonderful opportunity to direct you back to some of that content. And then after those 2 weeks, we'll come back live and reconnect with you all in the new year. So we thank you so much for being on this journey with us all of 2025. It has been our heart's joy and a pleasure and just our high honor for you to have invested the time to listen. I feel like I want to shout people out. I'm not going to start, but there have been so many that have been listening and viewing and rocking with us every single week. We see you. We thank you. To our sponsors, we see you and we thank you. To everyone that has touched this recording in any way, whether making us look good in still photography, audio, sound, video, post-production, social media, to our children that connect, that get all this behind the scenes footage. We thank you. To our children that allow us to talk about them and create content, utilizing their stories as well. We thank you. And to everyone that has made a deposit in our lives are better because of it. There have been so many that we have shouted out our life lessons. You have been mentors and coaches to us. You have contributed to our lives in such special ways. I think about people literally all over the nation whose snippets of stories we have told over the course of this year that have made such an impact on our lives. And we thank you. And I want to thank you, Rufus, for being such an amazing husband, father, partner, and now are we co-podcasters? What do we call it? Co-hosts? What do we call it?
Co-host.
Oh, is that what we call it?
Co-host.
We done added a new we done added a new title. Yeah, we done added a new title this year. I don't know. I don't know what we add, but thank you for being so amazing on this part of the journey as well.
Absolutely.
So with that, we'll say we're signing off for 2025.
We'll see y'all next time.
This episode of With Love, The Chambers was brought to you by the Vision Engineering Collective, where purpose meets strategy and vision comes to life. If you've been enjoying the stories, the laughs, and those deep life lessons, we invite you to support the show and help us keep the love flowing. Head over to www.cough.ee/withlovethechambers. Think of it like buying us a cup of coffee or two. As always, thank you for hanging with us. We'll see you next time. With Love, The Chambers.
That's a wrap for today's episode of With Love, The Chambers.
We hope you laughed, learned, and felt encouraged along the way.
If you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share with someone who needs a little love and wisdom today.
You can also connect with us online on all social media platforms at Rufus Chambers Online and at Jamila Chambers. We'd love to hear from you.
Until next time,
keep living, keep laughing, and keep learning with Love, The Chambers.